Okay, this is a demo video for a Flask application, which is hosted on Azure Web Services, and sort of demoing what can be done there. Right now, what we have is we've built sort of a repo, a larger project repo on the specifics that I want to talk about here. What I'm going to talk about here is Flask, containers in Docker, as well as an embedded LLM, which sort of demonstrates some of the functionality that we get with Flask. So up front, you've got the standard Flask file architecture is going to be this app.py. And then your static folder is going to hold some of your images and things like that, something, styles to sort of format your web page, and then your templates are your HTML templates. And we'll see how this sort of works when we go into app.py. No, this is really long, and I'll get into why that is. But really, for Flask, what you have is you have these decorator Python functions, which call HTML templates. And so it allows you to run standard Python functions. For instance, here we have just some plotting functions. We have some database interface functions in this app, and you call those in this, let's say, home function. It can receive input, and then it can pass those values, whether it's a figure object or just strings, to your templates. So we'll look at, what does our home page actually look like in HTML? Well, it's got some style, and then it pulls in variables. For instance, here we've got the URL for home, and then here is a game name. And so what does this look like in sort of deployment? Well, this is what it looks like here. And so we've got the ability to have HTML, um, Python functions pull information, publish to HTML, and then we can make things like this. This is actually running on Azure right now. So this is a public endpoint. Anybody could go to this link, which is pretty neat. And we'll talk about how that works. So first is we have to, with Python projects, there's a lot of dependencies that we have, and for Azure App Services to be able to host this application, it needs to know the state of the application to be able to run it with all dependencies and not have any issues. So what we do is we use a Docker file, and we'll see. Let's see if we can find that. We have a Docker file here. And what this does is it points to the app directory. It copies all the files from the app directory and also installs all the requirements. In this Docker file, we also expose the 5000 port because that's the app, or the port that our app's going to be listening on. When we do that, we can run Docker commands to create an image and push it to Docker Hub. And you can see here, this is Docker Hub. It's basically just a Docker or a container manager. We've got a bunch of different versions of our container here. Right now, we're running version 5. And this allows us to sort of store images without having to cache those on code spaces or something like that. So we can keep things sort of lightweight in code spaces and all these, version history images. And then our Azure Web Services runs that flag, that tag of our image. And so if we wanted to, we can update version 5, push that to Docker Hub, and the app will automatically reflect those updates. So just to show kind of an interesting thing that you can do with Flask, right now we've got, if we go kind of past some of the plotting and larger project scripts here, right here we just have a single decorated function called sentiment, and that is going to use a Hugging Face, the pipeline function, which gives us a cached sentiment analyzer here to take user input and publish that to the sentiment analysis HTML file. So all just a few lines of code here. And what that kind of looks like is you type in some text, game struggles to perform well on my computer. in this instance, it's a review analyzer, but this will analyze any text, and you get negative. So this is really a pretty powerful tool, being able to host and containerize and host applications over Azure. And yeah, that's the individual project.